Welcome to Daily Wisdom Dive Day 4, where for 31 days we're discussing proverbial insights to help you transform your life. Now, chapter 4 is written from a father's perspective to his children. And so we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. Point number 1. The home is the primary place of learning and where parents pass on traditions, instill principles, and establish beliefs in their children. So for chapters 1 to 3 so far, Solomon has been admonishing only his son to pay attention to the instructions that he's given him. However, the difference in chapter 4 here is now Solomon is also admonishing all of his children to pay close attention to the instructions that he is giving them. Point number 2. Parents should not be discouraged by the hesitancy and resistance of the children to accept their instructions. Now, we know children are not always quick to accept whatever instructions the parents are giving. They're going to be resistant and reluctant to accepting those instructions for as long as they can. But parents should remain diligent in speaking their instructions to the children, and they should continue appealing to the children to attend and pay close attention to those instructions, because in due time they will remember what you've taught them. We see a clear depiction of that here in this chapter 4, where Solomon, speaking to his children, is also recalling the things that his father taught him when he was a young boy. Point number 3. Your children can never escape the power of the instructions you've taught them. Now, they may reject it for a while, and probably for a very long time at that, but the fact that they've received what you've taught them means it has now become a part of them, and no matter how much they resist it now, it will create some form of escape for them at some point in the future from the trials of life. I mean, you've probably seen people where they talk about, oh, I remember when my grandmother or my mother would tell me this and that when I was younger, and although I strayed away, so and so happened, and it brought me back to the prayers that my grandmother used to pray or the things that my mom used to tell me. So that's a clear example of the fact that no matter how much they may resist it in the moment, it's always going to be a part of them and they're going to remember it. Point number 4. Wisdom will cost you, but that cost is well worth it. Verse 5 tells us to get understanding and get wisdom. Now, the Hebrew word get translates into the words buy, purchase, and acquire, which indicates that there's some transactional aspect as far as financially or commercial transaction is related when it comes to getting and obtaining wisdom. So, when it comes to wisdom, we must value it, we must pursue it, but then it also comes with sacrifice. Point number 5. Once you've pursued and attained wisdom, you need to keep it. A classic example of someone who have attained wisdom but didn't keep it is Solomon himself. He talks about the fact that his father taught him lessons of wisdom throughout his entire childhood. And we know that Solomon himself, even asked God for wisdom above anything else. But even if he had attained it, he later on in life turned away from it. And so key takeaway point number 5 is that when you pursue wisdom and you attain it, be sure to keep it. Point number 6, if you pursue wisdom, you will be rewarded. Again, like I just mentioned, we know that Solomon asked God for wisdom. When God visited him and asked him what did he want, Solomon requested wisdom above everything else. He said, these people you chose and you gave me, I don't know what to do with them. I don't know how to lead them. And because Solomon requested wisdom above riches, above everything else, not only did God bless him with wisdom, but God blessed him with riches as well. And Solomon, he was deemed one of the wisest men in the earth. Not just the wisest king, but the wisest man. Point number 7. Imparting God's wisdom and principles in our children should be a major part of the process of preparing our children for success in this world. Many times when we're preparing our children to enter the world and be successful, we focus on a lot of things except for instilling and imparting God's wisdom and principles into them. So when it comes to preparing them for success, yes, we want them to be successful in all aspects of life in this world, but most importantly, we want them to succeed in the things of God and applying godly wisdom and principles. Point number 8. Do not enter the path of the wicked, but peradventure you do enter the path of wickedness, be sure to turn away from it quickly. So we all know the saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And so there's no need to fix something that's not broken. But there is an urgency to fix something when the need arises to fix it. And so here in this verse, it's telling us, do not enter the path of wickedness. Like if you can, by all means necessary, avoid entering the path of wickedness. But if for some reason you do end up getting on that path, be sure to get away from it quickly, because the further along you go, the more in depth you get onto the path of wickedness, the harder it is to get off that path. Point number 9. People can be as zealous when it comes to doing evil as they can be when it comes to doing good. Verses 16 to 17 reminds us of the ways of the wicked. The wicked, they eat and they breathe wickedness. They don't sleep until they've either invited others onto the path of wickedness, or they've caused others to fall or brought some level of wickedness to others. But the Bible is reminding us to stay clear of that path, because the path of the wicked is full of darkness, and when they fall, they sometimes don't even know why they fall. However, for those that remain on the path of righteousness and do good, their path is as bright as the daylight sun. It's like when you get that first gleam of light at dawn, and it just keeps getting brighter and brighter and brighter until midday. So the Bible reminds us that the path of the wicked is full of darkness, but if we remain on the righteous path, then our path will be as bright as that first gleam of dawn. Point number 10. Guard your heart for keeping wisdom, because it is the source of life. So, as I've mentioned before in previous videos, the heart is the center of who we are, and it's the center of change. That means change begins at the heart. If our heart is where we keep wisdom, we must always be careful to guard our heart against people and things that may come to cause us to engage in actions or do certain things that wisdom would warn us against. Point number 11. Stay focused on the right path and always consider the destination of the path you're traveling. Now, when you're traveling a certain path, especially when you're traveling that good path, there are always going to be distractions. There's going to be things that will come to try to distract you and get you off of the right path. But we should always remain focused. And in trying to remain focused, part of that is also always considering where the path you're on is going to take you, because doing that will help you establish wise direction. So verses 20 to 22 of this chapter drives home the core principle and lesson of this chapter, which is really that we should pursue wisdom, but we should always incline our ears to it, keep wisdom in our hearts, because in doing so, we're going to find life and health. Now, growing up, I remember this little song that we would always sing to help us remember the key essence of Proverbs chapter 4 and to drive home the principles surrounding wisdom. And so I'm going to sing it for y'all. Okay? My hope is that if you can't remember the other takeaway points of this chapter, that this song will help you remember the core principle of Proverbs chapter 4. And the song goes like this. My son, attend unto my words, incline thine ears to my sayings. Do not let them depart from thine eyes. Keep them in the midst of thine heart. For they are life to those who find them, and health to all their flesh. They are life to those who find them, and health to all their flesh. Okay, that probably was a bit rough, but I hope you get the point. Okay, so those are the key takeaway points of Proverbs chapter 4. Come back tomorrow where we take a dive into day 5 to continue 31 days of proverbial insights to help you transform your life.